there's a football equivalent to the bleachers at Wrigley Field in baseball, it is the Hawks' nest in the end zone, the 12th man, and Sam Adams leading the cheers from atop the Hawks' nest. The former Seattle defensive lineman, Stephen Hauschka, will kick off for Seattle. The Seahawks won the toss and they deferred. And LaMichael James, who had that big run back last week in Foxborough after New England had scored 28 consecutive points to set up Kaepernick's touchdown pass to Crabtree that was the game winner. He's back to receive it. And the rookie from Oregon, 5 yards deep, brings it back out to the 17 in this steady rain. Let's take a look at the San Francisco starters.
Colin Kaepernick, Nevada.
Frank Gore, the U.
Bruce Miller, Central Florida.
Michael Crabtree, Texas Tech.
Mario Manningham, Michigan.
Vernon Davis, University of Maryland.
Joe Staley, Central Michigan University.
Mike Upati, Idaho.
Jonathan Goodwin, University of Michigan.
Alex Boone, The Ohio State University.
Anthony Davis, Rutgers.
Well, last Sunday night in the rain in Foxborough, the 49ers had trouble with the snaps. So we'll keep an eye on that, obviously, at the outset tonight. As they come up in a fairly conventional formation, they use a lot of different formations, and they start with play action. And going deep on first down, and it is incomplete, intended for Mario Manningham, who has missed the last couple of games. Jeremy Lane, the rookie corner, covering on the play. It'll be 2nd and 10. So right off the bat, one of the reasons, of course, Chris, that Harbaugh went with Kaepernick over Alex Smith is he can do things like that, go very deep.
He can indeed, and you'll see it a lot against Seattle because they play a lot of man-to-man on the outside, and teams always try to test these corners early. The 49ers did the exact same thing.
49ers lining up with 4 backs in the pistol formation, the short shotgun, and Kaepernick throws, and the pass is incomplete. Intended for Crabtree. Richard Sherman covering, and let's take a look at the Seattle D.
Greg Bryant, Texas A&M.
Alan Branch, University of Michigan.
Brandon Mebane, California.
Chris Clemens, Georgia.
Leroy Hill, Clemson.
Bobby Wagner, D. Utah State. KJ Wright, Mississippi State.
Richard Sherman, Stanford.
Cam Chancellor, Virginia Tech.
Earl Thomas, Orange, Texas.
Jeremy Lane, John Tyler High.
And Sherman does play tonight. He was suspended for use of performance-enhancing substances, had an appeal hearing in St. Louis Friday, and that's yet to be determined. So he can play tonight. It's 3rd down and 10. The pass to the outside is too high for Crabtree. So the crowd already electric as the 49ers go 3 and out.
Well, no doubt on 3rd down where they like to go with the football, Michael Crabtree is the guy, pushes off, gets away with it, and the ball just sails right between his hands. Sometimes you have to figure out early in the game whether you want to wear those gloves or not. That time a little slippery for Crabtree.
Andy Lee, great weapon for the 49ers, a terrific punter. No stranger to the Pro Bowl. He'll send it down toward Leon Washington. One of the best return men in the league, returns both punts and kickoffs. And Washington will haul it in at the 35-yard line and get a block, and then get caught from behind after a 10-yard run back. But good field position as the Seahawks will start at the 50. And let's take a look at the Seattle starters.
Russell Wilson from a whole pack of Badgers.
Marshawn Lynch, Oakland Ice City, California.
Michael Robinson, Penn State University. Sidney Rice, Gaffney High School.
Golden Tate, the University of Notre Dame.
Zach Miller, Arizona State.
Russell Okung, Oklahoma State.
Paul McQuiston, Lebanon High School.
Max Unger, Oregon. J.R. Sweezy, NC State. Breno Giacomini, Malden High School.
Kicking team number 26. 15-yard penalty out at the end of the run. Seattle keeps the ball. 1st down.
That's Bill Vinovich making the call. Flag came down on the return. Penalty is against Brock after the play. And so that's going to move the Seahawks into San Francisco territory. A 15-yard penalty, and they will start at the 35-yard line.
Yeah, once the referees step in there, you're supposed to stop at that point. That one last shot, I think, got him.
So Russell Wilson, one of the great stories in the National Football League. And there is Aldon Smith, with 19.5 sacks, 3 shy of Michael Strahan's mark. Number 99 on that San Francisco defensive line. And Wilson goes right to the air on first down. And that's Zach Miller, the former Oakland tight end, who makes the catch and is close to a first down. Wilson picked in the 3rd round at home. Take a look at that. 12 touchdown passes, 1 interception. They are undefeated over the Seahawks at home. He just got the first down, picked in the 3rd round. When he was picked in the 3rd round, you figure, okay, well, he's going to back up Matt Flynn, who they paid a lot of money for from Green Bay. Tavares Jackson was here. He won the job in camp, has been the starter since opening day. At the 24 after an 11-yard gain. He takes it in their form of the pistol and gives it to Marshawn Lynch. And Lynch with the first down and inside the 10. And Lynch to the goal line. Touchdown. Beast mode, he calls it. Unleashing the beast. Touchdown, Seattle.
Justin Smith out of the lineup. The Seahawks go right after his replacement, Ricky Jean-Francois, and they stick it in from there. That is some start for this football team, who over the years have been beaten up a little physically by the 49ers.
Lynch is 2nd in the league in rushing to you-know-who, Adrian Peterson, averaging 5.1 per carry coming in, so a perfect start for the Seahawks. The defense with a 3 and out. The penalty against the 49ers sets them up at the 35. A pass for a first down, a 24-yard touchdown run, and now Hauschka for the point after. And 1:12 seconds into the game. 7-0 Seattle. Kind of a night here in Seattle, a steady rain. Temperature is in the mid-40s. They're used to it. 7-0, the Seahawks on top. And Hauschka's 2nd kickoff of the night. 6 yards deep. LaMichael James, the rookie from Oregon. And it's surrounded by a bunch of blue shirts as he reaches the 20-yard line, led by Earl Thomas, their stellar safety. And there is Justin Smith, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on tonight, all night long, Chris.
No doubt about it. Here's the matchup. You end up with your best, Russell Okung at tackle, going against the backup. And then on the outside, you got Zach Miller taking out the safety, Dante Whitner. Really perfectly blocked that time. But I think more than anything, just the physical nature of the start of this game has gone Seattle's way, and that's where San Francisco has been so strong all year.
See how tightly bunched they were in the huddle, because it's that difficult to hear in this stadium. And this is Gore going nowhere. Frank having another great season, averaging 4.8 per carry, 1,118 yards coming in, no gain, 2nd and 10.
And Frank Gore has torn up the Seattle Seahawks over the years. Without question, he has more yards against this defense than any other team. Has had a couple of 200-yard games against them, and he has to be big tonight if they're going to win.
And he had 131 in the prior meeting between these teams on a Thursday night in October, which the Niners won 13-6. So the 49ers have run 4 plays for no net yards. Kaepernick in the pocket, he can run, and he exhibits that here and slides to a stop up at the 27-yard line. Hill and Bobby Wagner, the rookie linebacker, in on the tackle. That's going to make it 3rd down and 3.
Got on the outside, Chris Clemens going to come up and force Kaepernick to step up in the pocket, but that's okay. This is really what they probably would like to see even more out of Kaepernick. When he gets out of the pocket, he has the ability to take it the distance at any time.
Kaepernick averaging 7.2 yards per rush, over 8 per pass. Those are Steve Young type numbers. 3rd and 3. And the handoff on the inside goes to LaMichael James, who was not even active until a couple of weeks ago, and he's the guy coming in to spell Gore, and he has enough for the first down.
You know, some of this read option stuff has been really a difference maker for San Francisco. Going to come over here, but it's going to freeze everybody on the backside because they don't know if Kaepernick's going to keep the ball or not. So hard to get pursuit off the backside, and when you can run it the way San Francisco can, that's just an added element.
And you'll see some of that from Russell Wilson as well tonight before the night is done. These quarterbacks, as I said at the top, may be the wave of the future, along obviously with guys like RG3. And Kaepernick has to take a timeout. And you can thank the crowd for that. So the big story in San Francisco, as most of you who follow the NFL know, was the change of quarterbacks. And, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that on the other side, Wilson was getting so much attention, Bobby Wagner is a rookie linebacker, unknown at this point, their second-round draft choice out of Utah State, but a guy who has been their starter and the guy who makes their defensive calls, and he's having a terrific season, leading the team in tackles. His position coach is Ken Norton. We had Wagner in the meeting the other day. I said, does Ken ever yell at you? He says, all the time.
He yells at him for everything, not tying his shoes. Doesn't matter, but Ken Norton was one of those guys that brought that level of intensity in his career, and now Wagner has picked it up.
Norton, a part of the Super Bowl championship team in San Francisco. Meanwhile, happy birthday to Jim Harbaugh, who's 49 today. After the timeout, Gore is the running back on first down. Play action. Protection breaking down, and then he shoots it out to the fullback, and that's a loss of 2 as Bruce Miller makes the catch, and he's tackled by the outside linebacker having a very good year, K.J. Wright.
Yeah, K.J. Wright, one of those explosive young players. You talked about Bobby Wagner, but K.J. Wright just in his second year. And when you put on some of the tape of the Seahawks, you just see these guys flashing around. They have the kind of energy that this crowd does, and when they get out here, they just have a tendency to make spectacular plays. Everybody knows San Francisco has the #1 scoring defense. Nobody knows Seattle has the second.
49ers spread it out, go 5 wide on 2nd and 11. And Kaepernick buying time, look out from behind. And before he can be chased down by Chris Clemens, a nice gain here to set up a 3rd down and 3.
Chris Clemens working against Joe Staley around the outside. If this is anybody but Colin Kaepernick, I think he runs him down for a sack, but he never gave up on the play, and Kaepernick probably a little bit lucky that he didn't end up giving up a fumble there. Clemens so consistent since coming to the Seahawks. 3 straight years now of at least 11 sacks, 11 and a half this year.
11 and a half sacks, came over in a trade with Philadelphia in 2010. 3rd and 3. Setting up a screen, not a chance. Going backwards, Frank Gore was there. He would have been enveloped anyway. K.J. Wright was there, and it's 4th down, and the 49ers to punt for the 2nd time.
Kind of interesting. Kaepernick sort of got rushed on that one right in his face. He had some pressure from Greg Scruggs, and because of it, he had to just sort of turn and blindly throw that thing away.
Lead a punt, Washington to run it back. And a fair catch is called for at the last moment at the 14-yard line. So the Seahawks will start from that spot with 9:40 to go in the quarter. They lead 7-0. From the 14 now on first down, the Seahawks with their 2nd possession. And the ball's handed off to Lynch, who scored the touchdown on the first series to the 21. Let's take a look at the 49er defense.
Ray McDonald, the University of Florida.
Isako Sapoama, Hawaii.
Ricky Jean Francois, LSU.
Ahmad Brooks, UVA.
Navarro Bowman, Penn State.
Patrick Willis, Ole Miss.
Alden Smith, the University of Missouri.
Carlos Rogers, Auburn University.
Dante Whitner, The Ohio State, Deshaun Golson, Washington.
Terrell Brown, DBU, University of Texas.
A defense that is #1 in scoring defense, fewest points in the league. Wilson's going to go deep, and the pass is juggled, and then at the 36-yard line, bowled in by Doug Baldwin. Carlos Rogers got out-positioned on the play, and a long gain here of 43 yards.
One of the problems you have is that you want to come up and try and help against Marshawn Lynch in this running game. And in a very rare circumstance for the 49ers, no safeties back, which really just meant that was a one-on-one jump ball. Nice read by Russell Wilson, and Baldwin somehow juggled that one in the rain and got it back.
Well, Harbaugh's seen that before because Baldwin played for him at Stanford. And a whistle, and they couldn't get the play off. So one of the rare times they actually got a timeout call before the delay of game. So timeout taken by Pete Carroll's group. Well, week 7 against the 49ers, there were Wilson's numbers. There were 4 drop passes, but it was a bad night for him. They were held to 2 field goals. His passer rating was his lowest of the season. But since then, light went on. Completing 2/3 of his passes, 13 touchdowns, only 2 picks. And this is a team that has scored 108 points, 58 against Arizona and 50 against Buffalo in the last 2 weeks. His wife, Ashton, and to her right, mother Tammy, sister Anna, who is a tremendous high school basketball player back east. And after the timeout, here is Lynch going nowhere, probing the left side and stopped at the line of scrimmage by Navarro Bowman.
Now, there's no doubt they're going to find out about the defensive right side of the San Francisco 49ers. You got Aldon Smith over there, who's obviously one of the top pass rushers in the game. 19.5 sacks, has a chance to break Michael Strahan's record of 22.5. But with Ricky Jean-Francois over there replacing Justin Smith, if you're going to run, you're going to run there.
Right now, Smith isn't even leading the league, though, in sacks because J.J. Watt had one today, and he has 20.5. And that pass floats and is pulled in at the 22 by Sidney Rice. Battling that foot injury, got position there on Rodgers, and that's a gain of 14 and a first down.
Well, we saw Carlos Rogers play so well against Wes Welker a week ago, and you come out with Sidney Rice with his bad knee. You're not even sure he's going to be able to play, and they don't know if you're going to finish it. And the old 1 knee equals 2 feet. That is a completion, and Russell Wilson has a knack for escaping and making plays like that.
John Madden wrote a book with that title, 1 knee equals 2 feet. Wilson is now 3 for 3, and there's nothing happening on the right side as Marshawn Lynch in his 6th year out of the University of California came up with Buffalo and then was traded here in 2010. He has been tremendous. He hasn't carried the ball that much over the last couple of weeks. They haven't needed him to carry it, but he's averaging, as you can see right there, 12 yards per carry 2 weeks ago, a little more than 11 last week in the game at Toronto against Buffalo. And he scored the touchdown tonight. He's carried the ball tonight 4 times for 33 yards. 2nd and 9. They toss it to him. Lynch. And close to a first down as he gets behind Russell Okung, the left tackle, one of the best in the league, and then helps to spring him.
Russell Okung, the tackle, is going to pull out and around. They missed the crackback block on Aldon Smith, and it looks like he's going to be in perfect position. But that was that. Russell Okung outside just drove Aldon Smith right out of the play, and Marshawn Lynch very patient with the run. Big 3rd down here.
3rd and 1 after a gain of 8. Culliver comes to the sideline. Carroll's watched his team amass 109 yards thus far to 17 for the 49ers. And Wilson, who ran for 3 touchdowns last week, slides to a stop and sets up a 1st and goal at the 8-yard line.
It's just the added element that anytime you can get your fullback out in the flat, people have to go immediately with that. And then here comes Russell Wilson, who really set all kinds of records last week. 3 rushing touchdowns, all over 10 yards, and a passing touchdown. Nobody had done that in the history of the NFL.
Those were his first 3 rushing touchdowns of the season. And on 1st and goal, he gives it to Lynch. And he gets bottled up at the line of scrimmage. Ricky Jean-Francois, first guy in there. It'll be 2nd down and goal.
Yeah, Ricky Jean-Francois is resorting to wrestling moves now. He and Russell Okung just going at it. It's like not really football too much. They're just fighting and clawing and scratching, and that was a nice play by Francois.
Yeah, he introduced himself as Ricky Jean because that's what the guys call him. Because football players aren't going to say, excuse me, Ricky Jean. R.J. Francois, 2nd down and goal. The ball is at the 9. Wilson, after reaching for the snap, throws, caught, touchdown. That's Marshawn Lynch into the end zone for the 2nd time tonight.
Going to pick on the linebacker here. The first crosser is going to clear the underneath zone, and then Marshawn Lynch comes in right behind the vacated zone there for the touchdown. And for Pete Carroll, this could not have started any better than this.
4:26 remaining in the quarter. Hauschka comes in for the extra point. And so for Lynch, his first receiving touchdown of the season, to go with 10 rushing touchdowns. 14-0 Seahawks. Take a look at that. Wilson now with 22 touchdown passes. Only Peyton Manning as a rookie had more. Charlie Connolly with the Giants way back with 22. And Wilson still has the rest of this game and all of next week against St. Louis to try to chase Peyton. This is James with his 3rd run back of the night. And LaMichael James brings it back to the 35 where the kicker, Hauschka, makes the tackle. So uphill battle right now for the 49ers, down by 2 scores in Seattle.
Colin Kaepernick is definitely going to be testing the cornerbacks of the Seahawks. A lot of injuries, a suspension by Brandon Browner, Walter Thurman, Marcus Trufant out with hamstring injuries. So we're going to see the young guys, Jeremy Lane, Byron Maxwell, along with Richard Sherman, who missed a couple of days of practice this week himself.
Lane, a rookie, 6th-round draft choice from Northwestern State. And now Kaepernick, in this deafening roar, hands the ball off to Gore. And Frank Gore loses the ball, and nothing but blue shirts are there, and then somehow it squirts out, and nothing but white shirts are there at the 39-yard line. Cam Chancellor came in to force the fumble, and then when it looked like the Seahawks were a lock to recover, the ball squirts out, and the 49ers all gather at the 39-yard line, and Bill Vinovich signals the 49ers have recovered. Lucky break.
Cam Chancellor, the safety, down playing basically in the linebacker position, is going to come through and punch this ball out. Of course, wet and slippery and slimy and all those kinds of words. And this would have been a huge blow to the 49ers had the Seahawks recovered that one. But it was squirting all over the place.
Joe Staley, the tackle, winds up saving it for San Francisco. Turns out to be a pickup of 4, 2nd and 6. And Kaepernick deep over the middle, a little bit low, intended for Vernon Davis, the tight end at the 34-yard line. And they're going to rule that Davis makes the catch.
This is going to be interesting. I'm not even sure Vernon Davis knew if he caught this thing or not.
Right.
Looks pretty good.
Well,
maybe he got those hands underneath it. That'd be a heck of a catch. Vernon Davis just one catch a game the last 4. Really hasn't been much of a target. I think he did a pretty good job making that play.
Well, Carroll has a chance to challenge, but he doesn't after taking a look at the replay. The ball at the 34-yard line, and they hand the ball off to Frank Gore. That's one of those challenges where it's so close, the ruling on the field would normally stand. The only question is the ball can hit the ground, but did the ground help him control it? And in Carroll's estimation, he would not have won the challenge.
Boy, what a turn of events, huh? You don't lose the fumble the prior play and make a play like that the next one, and finally get a little momentum for this offense.
2nd and 6. LaMichael James is now in as the running back. Play clock at 1, and now the 49ers have to take another timeout, and the crowd forces that one as well. So they've already used 2 of their 3 timeouts in the half.
Well, if you've never been in this stadium before, try to imagine playing quarterback. Colin Kaepernick is having everybody crowding around him, but look at him. He's having to scream at the top of his lungs just to get the play called in the huddle, and forget about it at the line of scrimmage. You just got to do the best you can, then call timeout.
Started the show tonight by saying it's the consensus loudest stadium in the league. I mean, we've been in some loud places, and when they used to pipe the noise back in at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, said they didn't, but they did.
Clearly.
That was the loudest.
Yeah, it was. Great passion here, and I think that the Seahawks fans understand they've got something going on here. This is a very young team. They're incorporating a lot of players. The one thing they didn't have solved was the quarterback position. And Russell Wilson, every single week, has seemed to get better and better and better. And these Seahawks have a chance. They're getting hot at the right time.
2nd and 6 from the 30. Gore. No room. 3rd down. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, let me give you a visual on how loud it is here. You guys have been talking about this. How loud is it? And I'm right next to the mic. Now, if I were to take 3 steps back where the tackles are that Colin Kaepernick has to yell to, here's where he has to yell to the tackles. I mean, you see what I mean? You can't hear, Al.
You'd be great in a silent movie. That's the perfect way to describe it.
You can tell she's a mom, though. I've heard that tone of voice before.
3rd down and 6 from the 30. Kaepernick, and there's no play because nobody can hear the whistle, and the play clock had expired.
Prior to the snap, delay game. Offense number 7. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Well, who would have known?
I tell you, it's pretty remarkable. We saw Kaepernick in New England a week ago just seem to handle everything thrown at him, and yet there is no way of practicing playing in this place. I mean, it is just, it's remarkable. You get your calls so slowly in, you can't understand it. Even Bobby Wagner said, the linebacker for the Seahawks, that a lot of times he can't hear in his helmet. He looks over at the sideline and has to read lips to know what the call is.
That was almost the case there. You got the speaker in the helmet, but clearly that didn't matter. He had to look over to the sideline for a call. And Kaepernick now steps up in the pocket and shoots one to the 30-yard line to Michael Crabtree. And he gets taken out of bounds at the 25-yard line. So it was a 3rd and 11, and he should have enough for a 1st down.
Well, we talked about it before, but Crabtree has been the guy. On 3rd down, he's converted almost as many 3rd downs as the rest of the team combined. You would think that eventually somebody's going to step up and take him away because Kaepernick is looking there almost every 3rd down.
Crabtree with a team-leading 74th reception this season from the 24-yard line. Good play fake that buys a ton of time, and then the pass is caught, but falling to the ground right away is Delaney Walker as he slips and is tackled at the 20-yard line.
It's interesting they don't get Kaepernick outside more. As he took over the reins in his first couple of games, had 3 touchdown passes outside the pocket. But since then, where he's really shown the improvement has been standing in the pocket and especially against the blitz. Had nice numbers lately.
Second down, 6. But Manningham top of the screen, Crabtree at the bottom, and Vernon Davis comes in motion in the slot. And he's going to go Manningham's way, and Manningham is out of bounds. So Mario Manningham missing a couple of games with a shoulder injury. Richard Sherman covering on the play. It'll be 3rd down and 6.
I hate to even do this again, but Manningham in the past, playing for the Giants, had an issue of not leaving himself enough room on the sideline to make some of these plays. That time Sherman was able to squeeze him into the boundary, and again, just not enough room.
Well, the one time that he did leave himself enough room.
Yeah, we remember well, don't we?
The biggest of all, the catch in the Super Bowl. 3rd down and 6. And Kaepernick wide open and making the catch, and what a shot. Flag is thrown. In fact, 3 of them. Davis lost the ball. Cam Chancellor comes in. He's the first guy in there. And Vernon Davis, as he's ready to collect it, and he's going to blink his way probably over to the sideline.
Wow.
Personal foul. Defense number 31. Hit on the defensive receiver. Half the distance to the ball. Automatic. 1st down.
3 flags came in, so everybody saw that one.
Saw the man coverage come in and pick it, and wheel route up here. Perfectly run play. They end up getting the pick done. Easy catch, and Chancellor just dislodges the ball. Did he go to the helmet? Well, I think you can make at least an argument that that was into the chest and not the head. I don't know how they make those calls anyway.
I don't know either. Now it's 1st and goal, and the ball is handed off to Frank Gore. And he'll take us to the end of the 1st quarter to the 4-yard line. It will be 2nd down and goal when the 2nd quarter begins. But that is the end of the 1st quarter. With the score, Seattle 14, San Francisco nothing. And Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. Second down and goal now as we begin quarter number 2. And Kaepernick will keep it himself and get taken out of bounds at the 3-yard line. And Chris, let's go back to take a look at that hit.
Well, Vernon Davis is definitely going to take a shot, but I think Cam Chancellor makes a brilliant hit. He's going to lower his head, hit him with a shoulder pad, get the head out of there. If that's not legal, I don't know what is. I mean, I really don't. I think that is outstanding defensive football. 6'3", 230-pound safety, lowering the boom on a big tight end. I don't agree with the call.
I'm with you, but the officials, all they see is that head snap back, and it's a bang-bang thing, and they get the flag. In fact, 3 of them came in on that play. 3rd down and goal. The ball is at the 3. And Kaepernick buying time, throwing, tipped and incomplete. Richard Sherman got a hand on a great job by the secondary that time. And it's 4th down and goal, and in comes Akers to try to make it 14-3.
On the outside, Jeremy Lane right here is going to be on Randy Moss, but he settles outside, so the little fade to the back corner wasn't there. He comes back late, and Richard Sherman, the veteran, almost made him pay. This is what you can't do as a quarterback, make that sort of blind throw and assume somebody's not chasing you.
David Akers, who's missed 10 already this year, so he's been fighting it. But this is a chip shot, 21-yarder. Lee to put it down. And Akers kicked, it's blocked. And then it is picked up and run back by Sherman. And Richard Sherman is out in front. And Richard Sherman's going to go all the way. Touchdown, Seattle. Noise can register on some seismograph right now.
Red Bryant right in front of number 55 right there is going to split the gap. get his hand in the air, and that is that. The chip shot field goal turns into a disaster for the San Francisco 49ers. What a turn of events on that drive. The fumble that they recover, you get the pass off the ground, you get the shot that should not have been a penalty, it ends up a touchdown for the Seahawks. Go figure.
Brett Bryant does that a lot. He blocked 4 kicks, 3 field goals, and a point after last year. So no stranger to doing that sort of stuff. Sherman makes it pay off. Hauschka boots the extra point. We're 55 seconds into the second after that crazy series. 21-0 Seattle. Place always electric. Seahawks with 108 points in 2 games coming in, and now 21 in 16 minutes tonight. And Hauschka's kick is fielded by James. And Michael James is able to spring free just for the moment. And then gang tackle with the 20, and we check in with Michelle.
Well, Al and Chris, after that vicious hit Vernon Davis took a few minutes ago by Cam Chancellor, he came to the sideline where athletic trainers talked with him for a period of time. He then was taken back to the locker room for evaluation for a head injury, Al.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Thank you, Michelle. As you take a look at that shot, groggy as he got up, so they're minus one of the best tight ends in the league. They have Delaney Walker and they have Garrett Selleck, the rookie out of Michigan State, the brother of the Eagles, Brent Selleck, is their 2 other tight ends. And now they start this drive from the 20-yard line. And Kaepernick will throw, and that pass is incomplete, intended for Walker. And Richard Sherman has just been all over the place, and the 49ers right now thinking, why couldn't they have suspended him? Well, he was suspended. He's appealed. Brandon Browner was suspended and is serving it. So the other day, he missed practice on Thursday. They had to fly him to St. Louis to have the appeal, and he came back on Friday night. So he misses 2 days of practice, but they haven't ruled on it yet. So there he is tonight, making the most of it.
But they were able to split the sentence in a way and keep at least one of their top flight corners around.
2nd and 10. Again, the play clock all the way down again. And they don't get it off. You got to delay a game again.
Wow.
Delay a game. Offense. Number 7. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
You know, Al, Jim Harbaugh was talking to us the other night and said sometimes a big win can be harder to overcome than a big loss. Here's a team that goes into New England last week, knocks off Tom Brady. Everybody was proclaiming them to be the best team in football. Fly back across the country. Everybody's patting you on the back. Now you got to come into this mess. Tough.
The best team in the league is a movable feast and has been all year. 2nd and 15. And this is Frank Gore, or rather LaMichael James, for the game back to the original line of scrimmage. And Alex Smith, who was the starting quarterback, suffered a concussion. Kaepernick finished that game a month and a half ago, lost his job to Kaepernick, and all he can do is sit and wait for another shot at some point. Look at those numbers in his last 2 starts, but all it earns him is a trip to the bench. 3rd and 9. Kaepernick flushed out, buys time, and then throws incomplete. And the flag comes in, intended for Delaney Walker. Bruce Irvin put the heat on that time, rookie number 1 pick out of West Virginia.
Well, Chris Clemens that time took away the screen pass, and Kaepernick really had nowhere to go. Don't know if they were maybe called a hold on him as he grabbed the back trying to come out of the backfield.
Waiting for the call by Bill Vinovich.
Ineligible receiver. Downfield. Offense number 74. Penalties decline. Result of the play. 4th down.
Joe Staley and 49ers to punt.
Here's Clemens out here. Watch him. He figures this thing out in a hurry, and he's going to take Gore right out of the backfield. So Kaepernick really had no place to go and just had to scramble right. And now you get to face that guy, one of the top returners of all time.
And he lead a punt to Leon Washington.
I'll tell you, people are going to recognize what Seattle has been doing on the defensive side after this game.
They're already seeing what they're doing on the offensive side. With 129 points in a little over 9 quarters. Lee with a high, booming punt. Washington from the 21. Trying to find room. Leon, like the old Ms. Pac-Man game, takes it back to the 24-yard line. 12:52 left in the first half. Pete Carroll pretty excited. Harbaugh's not. 21-0. One of the questions with the 49ers, do you pay a price a week later? They averaged 62 defensive plays per game. Then last week, the Patriots ran 92 plays, most in a non-overtime game since '02. And those guys right there not only played every defensive play, but special teams plays as well. This is a defense that never comes off the field. They use the same guys basically week in, week out. Of course, they're missing Justin Smith tonight. And they got to keep Seattle somewhat in check, which isn't going to be easy right now as they start from the 23. And the handoff goes to Lynch. Flag is thrown.
Holding. Offense number 67. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Paul McQuiston. You know, you get to the point in the season, and we're there right now, and we're always talking about the team you don't want to see in the playoffs. And that team is becoming the Seattle Seahawks right now.
Well, especially if you have to play them here. You know, at least before you could say, all right, as long as you get them on the road, you're going to be okay. But recently, Russell Wilson and company have proven they can take this act on the road, and they've been just as dynamic.
Right. Big overtime win in Chicago. Route last week against Buffalo and Toronto. Handoff goes to Robert Turbin, who's a rookie out of Utah State, picked in the 4th round. And take a look at the young guy who backs up Marshawn Lynch.
Well, here's the reverse, this read option. It's one of those plays that you see a lot in college. And I tell you, that time the San Francisco 49ers sort of abandoned the backside. So don't be surprised now if Russell Wilson does one of those same kind of plays and keeps the football, because Aldon Smith crashed down inside on that one.
2nd down and 10 now from the 23. And pressure put on, and the screen is set up, and then the interception is made by Patrick Willis. So the 49ers in dire need of a big-time play. Turbin was the intended receiver, couldn't handle it, and Willis comes up with the pick.
Turbin had a big drop in the game in San Francisco earlier this year. The throw just a little bit high, but because you see the 49ers play so much man coverage, that time it was Patrick Willis in man coverage on Turbin coming out. So he was attacking the receiver, saw the screen right away, and there you have it. The play Harbaugh needed to get his team going.
And that sets the 49ers up at the 16-yard line. And they come up in that diamond backfield, all 4 backs. Gore positioned behind Kaepernick. They fake it to him, and then Kaepernick throws, and it's caught out in the flat by Bruce Miller, who gets whacked right after he makes the catch for a loss of 1. Chancellor is there. Boy, he's making his presence felt.
Yeah, he's not going to scare Bruce Miller, though. Bruce Miller was Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, had about 35 career sacks as a defender, and that's the way he used to hit people. But Chancellor is sort of taken over this game, hasn't he? You think about the Seahawks and safety, and you think of Earl Thomas, but it's the big guy back there making all the plays.
2nd down and 10. That was only the 2nd interception at home this year for Wilson. And now Kaepernick, he's going to pack it in, and nowhere to run as he slides to a stop at the 15-yard line, setting up a 3rd and 9.
Well, you can see Kaepernick now just a little bit hesitant, not exactly believing. I think he had room to get this throw in and just for some reason pulled it down. Looked out there, but that's what happens sometimes. You get just a little uncertain, and for young quarterbacks, especially those with some athleticism, if you're not comfortable, you run.
Manningham to the left, Moss to the right. Again, they're minus Vernon Davis. And then the pass is intended for Crabtree and incomplete. Let's go to Michelle.
And Al, they are minus Vernon Davis for the rest of the night. He has been officially ruled out with a concussion, again, after that vicious hit.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So 4th and 9, and the 49ers squander a great opportunity to get to within 14. Instead, here comes Akers again. And there's Red Bryant. Smelling blood. 33-yard attempt. On this rainy night, Lee puts it down, and this time Akers' kick is good. But a victory for that Seattle defense, holding them to 3, and it's 21-3. (21-3) as the kick is fielded by Washington. And Washington, one of the best ever, who averages 30 yards per return, and it's Akers who has to make the tackle at the 40-yard line. So here comes Russell Wilson, the college career. He went to North Carolina State, played 3 years there, had a year of eligibility left, but chose to play baseball. Get to that in a moment. 379 straight passes without an interception. Then he's drafted in the 4th round by the Colorado Rockies, plays minor league baseball, and goes to Wisconsin because he had 1 year of football eligibility left. Had a tremendous year for the Badgers last year. Led them into the Rose Bowl where Oregon beat them. But a pretty fascinating story. North Carolina State, Wisconsin, and a kid who at one point turned down $1 million offer from the Baltimore Orioles. They wanted to draft him very high, and he said, nope, no thank you. Good ball handling here, but now the Niners close in, and he just about gets back to the line of scrimmage where Sopoaga makes sure he goes no farther. But you look at him, and here's a kid, and you think about this, grew up, his dad played professional football, not in the regular season, though. He played for San Diego and was one of their last cuts as a receiver in 1980. His father passed away from complications from diabetes a couple of years ago at the age of 55. But a kid who turned down $1 million offer when he was about 18 years old.
Oh, it's amazing. His dad used to wake him up at 5:30 in the morning to go work out. I was afraid to tell the story. Everybody be getting awakened at that hour.
2nd and 11, and again pressured. Smith is chasing him, and he'll pack it in, and this time he turns it into a gain of about 4 as they tackle him at the 44-yard line, and Terrell Brown is down and hurt.
I tell you, Al, he reminds me of Fran Tarkington, and I know there are going to be people out there that haven't seen Fran Tarkington play, but if you're old enough to know him, that's what he looks like. And the last few weeks, we've seen those sort of reverse scramble kind of runs and plays. And we've got somebody down here for the 49ers.
It's Brown, Terrell Brown, injury timeout. Well, the 49ers have been relatively injury-free defensively, but now you've got Justin Smith out tonight, and there goes Brown limping off. And for the most part, take a look at this as his own man rolls up into him. Kicks him.
Friendly fire happens a lot. Ray McDonald rolling around, and never like to see that. 49ers have stayed so healthy all year, and now Justin Smith, Terrell Brown, getting tough.
3rd down and 6 as play resumes from the 44-yard line. 5 wide they go, and the pass is caught very close to a 1st down. That's Golden Tate. And the 49ers are saying, hey, we stopped him short of it. Goldson makes the tackle. Line judge comes in to spot it. Bill Vinovich will take a look, line it up.
Go right after the replacement, Tremaine Brock, get inside and pick up the first down. This is a defense, and we've talked about it a little bit, but they started the same 10 of 11 starters every game until this one, and now 2 guys out, and it's starting to show.
Enough for a first down, forward progress, ball right at the midfield stripe with 8:15 to go in the half. And Wilson in the pocket. And Wilson, the 3rd-round draft choice. The other thing, too, we need to bring up in terms of Wilson, with a flag thrown here, is one of the reasons that everybody said, well, he's not going to be able to make it as a professional quarterback, is his height, which is officially 5'10" and 5'8".
Holding. Offense number 64. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
J.R. Sweezy, rookie out of North Carolina State, so he and Russell know each other very well. But he's officially 5'10" and 5'8". So what's Drew Brees, an inch and 3/8 taller?
Yeah, you know, and I thought he made a really good point. He said, okay, let's say I'm 3 inches taller. I'm 6'1". Do you really think I'm going to be able to see over these 6'6" and 6'7" offensive linemen? He's right. You know, no matter how tall you may be, if you're in that 6 foot to 6'2" range, you're not seeing over anybody. You've got to see through the passing lanes.
And the reason you have those Tarkenton comparisons. 1st and 20. And the crowd thought the 49ers were offside as Robert Turbin makes the catch, but we see no flag, and now you got Brooks there. And Wilson saying, where's the flag? They came across the line.
Well, and Ahmad Brooks was the one that they thought was across the line, and then Brooks at the tail end of that play kind of threw a little right hook. Here we go, right off the edge. Got a jump. I thought he did on the one before that too, working against Giacomini on the outside. I don't know if we'll see the tail end of this, but Russell Okung gave him a little shot, and Brooks came back at him.
Brown, meanwhile, is back in the game, so it looked bad for a moment, but good news to the Niners as Brown comes back in, and there he is lining up on tape. 2nd and 11. And Wilson throwing to the outside for a very short gain, and a flag is down as Golson takes Baldwin down to the ground with a good wrestling move. Good wrestling move, but not so good in football.
Jim Harbaugh is going crazy. He's going, wait a minute now. You got to be able to tackle somebody. There it is. And then the secondary shot came in there as well.
Well, here comes Culliver. He could be the culprit here.
Yeah, I think they're going to say the whistle was blowing at that point, but this will be an interesting discussion. I don't think the first one's a foul if they don't call the second one. You're allowed to tackle them however you want, to the best of my knowledge.
There are 2 fouls on the play, 1 by each team. Ineligible receiver, offense number 64. By rule, that penalty is disregarded. Personal foul. Defense, number 29, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
They did call it on Culliver, and when you have the personal foul, that offsetting. You know what I mean, and I know you do.
Yeah, I got that. Well, here you go, and here's the hard part of this whole thing. We saw Michelle do the demonstration earlier. How far away do you think you have to be to really hear the whistle? You know, for Chris Culliver, he's coming flying in there, and I'm sure the whistle was blowing, but it's a tough place to hear anything going on, and Culliver's probably saying that on the sideline right now.
They may have been calling it a defenseless receiver at that point because he was in the grasp of Goldson. In any event, it's a first down at the 36-yard line. And they give it to Lynch following his fullback Robinson. And it's a tough yard or 2 gain for him with 6.5 to go in the half. Seattle with a win tonight clinches a playoff spot, still would have a shot at the division title. But for that to happen, they would have to knock off St. Louis here next week, and the 49ers would have to lose to Arizona at Candlestick.
Yeah, I love the description I got. There we go.
So there it is. There's the clinching scenarios, and I'll tell you who's pretty happy right now are the Green Bay Packers, Because if the Niners lose this game, then the Packers will be in the number 2 spot with 1 game to play in Minnesota next week. And this is Marshawn Lynch tackled by Smith with Brooks losing his helmet on the play. It'll be 3rd down and 5.
Here we go, all the way across the formation. Aldon Smith, known as the pass rushing guy, but plenty of speed to get there on the backside. And he's a guy that had to learn how to play linebacker. You know, he's not just a pass rusher. You'll see him drop into coverage on more than a few occasions during the game. So give him credit for getting 19.5 sacks despite having to drop out.
None last week, none so far tonight. Wilson flushed out, trying to pick up the first down. It does. Reaches out across the line. And Russell Wilson picks up a first down on his 3rd carry of the night.
You know, it's always sort of interesting to me. You know, we were trying to protect everybody. Looked like on that play that Carlos Rogers, number 22, as Russell Wilson's coming out, you're almost afraid to hit the quarterbacks there. And then they reach the ball out and pick up the first down on it. You could see Rogers almost pull off of that and saying, well, you know, he can't afford to give the 15-yard penalty the way they're calling it right now, and it may have cost him a first down.
At the 24-yard line. And Wilson takes a timeout. Timeout Seahawks. They're up by 18. And before we go to commercial, hold that band. Hold it for a second. We've got a flag on the field.
Prior to the flag for delayed game, timeout, Seattle.
All right.
Strike up the band.
That will sell you some good product.
Talked about Russell Wilson, his ability to scramble, and another quarterback, maybe he was 6 feet tall. We'll give Fran credit for this. Fran Tarkenton played for the Minnesota Vikings and New York Giants, but he just had a way of driving defensive linemen crazy. When it wasn't there, you just start moving around. They look alike to me out there on the field, the way they play the game. And so much so Pete Carroll called Bud Grant the coach of Fran Tarkenton, and all Bud could talk about was how accurate he was. And Pete said, yeah, that's my guy too.
Well, Pete was actually on Bud Grant's staff in Grant's last year at Minnesota. And now the handoff goes to Lynch. And he'll take the ball to the 15-yard line where Culliver makes the tackle. Gain of 8. It'll be 2nd and 2 with 4.5 to go in the half.
Well, here's what happens on this play that makes it so hard. You leave guys unblocked. Here's Brooks out here, and watch him. All right, you're going to freeze right there. I'm going to hand the thing off. And so instead of that guy crashing down to play the run, he's frozen in time, and that allows Marshawn Lynch to pick up a big one.
2nd and 2. Coming to the outside. Lynch again. And he sets up a 1st and goal before he's knocked out of bounds by Brown at the 6-yard line.
Let's give Zach Miller a little credit on the outside. Anytime you get outside, you know that you've gotten a good block on the edge. Aldon Smith here just unable to get outside in the contain. Maybe a little grab, but every once in a while, little grabs get away with in this league.
From the 6 on 1st and goal. Scoring in each of the last 21 red zone drives, 14 TDs, 7 field goals. And Lynch, who is seeking the hat trick, he's already scored twice tonight, makes it 2nd down and goal from the 3.
I'll tell you, I was talking to Darrell Bevel, the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, and he said the amazing thing about Marshawn Lynch is that his feet are as fast as his eyes. You know, a lot of guys can see it, but their feet can't get them there. Bevel said this guy can see it, he can get there, and then when he gets there, he runs over people.
Never heard that description before. That's a great way to describe it. Terrific. 2nd and goal from the 3. And this time, the 49ers are as fast as his feet. As Ahmad Brooks is the first guy there. Loss of a couple. Back to the 6 they'll go. It'll be 3rd down and goal.
You know, one of the things about that read option is sometimes as a running back, you don't really know if your quarterback's giving it to you or not. And it almost looked like Lynch thought, because of what he was reading, that Russell Wilson was going to pull the ball out and go around the edge. Take a look at this. See if Lynch, it's in there, and I think he's thinking, all right, he's going to pull this out because that guy crashed down. He almost did. It was kind of one of those tweeners on that one.
They do have to run a play before the 2-minute warning. It's 3rd down and goal. Seahawks will also get the opening kickoff of the second half. And it is caught in the corner for a touchdown. Anthony McCoy, the backup tight end, makes the catch. Slam dunk.
When it's going right, it's going right, because the play clock was down to about a half a second here. When this ball was snapped, had to get the motion in with McCoy coming down. And remember how they do that, though. They're going to watch the clock and then look down. So there's a split-second difference between when the play clock hits 0 and when they're going to allow the play to continue. That time they saw it go to 0 but looked down and the ball had been snapped. So they allow the play, and McCoy with a big touchdown before the half.
McCoy with his 3rd touchdown reception of the season. Hauschka for the extra point. McCoy playing for Carroll at USC before Pete came here. 1:58 to the half, 28-3 Hawks. 28-3 Seattle. 1:58 to the half. 49ers have one timeout as we head down the stretch of the half. And James gets to run another kickback. And Michael James with a good run back out to the 34-yard line, and back we go to the touchdown.
Well, we've been talking about these mobile quarterbacks. When the quarterback goes up, that means somebody has to come get him or he's going to run it in the end zone. So then they run the little pick, and you're going to see Dante Whitner, 31, the safety, have to try and get all the way in the flat to get McCoy. They get a little pick on him. Really well-designed play that time by Darrell Bevel.
Kaepernick is 5 of 14 for 41 yards. Ball to 33, and the pass is caught by Crabtree, and Maxwell takes him out of bounds. The Seattle Seahawks on the scoring binge, second team to hold a 24-point lead in the first half of 3 straight games. You go back to the 41 Bears, coached by George Halas, quarterbacked by Sid Luckman. Last time that happened. 58 points 2 weeks ago, 50 points last week, and tonight on a 56 pace or beyond. 2nd and 2. Kaepernick throws, and it's a little behind Crabtree, who reaches back, makes the grab at the 48, tackled by Sherman.
I'll tell you, I am so impressed with the way Pete Carroll and these guys, Gus Bradley, play defense. They're going to stick with their corners playing one-on-one, even though they're down to their 5th and 6th string corners.
From the 48. Kaepernick over the middle, and that's caught at the 25-yard line, and that's Randy Moss who makes his first catch of the night. And the 49ers quickly to the 23.
Working against Jeremy Lane right there. Just going to take the inside route, and now they're starting to get it going. They need something before the half.
Desperately. 25-yard gain. And Kaepernick has to roll away, but not far enough, and that is K.J. Wright, the second-year linebacker out of Mississippi State, having a terrific season. Huge sack. Timeout taken by San Francisco.
I love watching K.J. Wright play. One of those exciting young linebackers inside for the Seahawks. Here he is right out here. And watch Frank Gore. He says, wait a minute, something's up. We don't have enough to block those guys out there. Try to go naked bootleg. But believe me, K.J. Wright, with the way he tracks guys down, even Kaepernick can't get away from him.
So that's a 13-yard sack. The ball is back at the 36-yard line. Crowd in full throat as always. Blitz coming. Kaepernick tries to get away and then has to sling it away into the bench intended for Manningham, and it was Wright putting the heat on again. 3rd and 23.
Yeah, KJ Wright's turning into a nightmare for him. A little stunt back inside. I think this is Clemens coming up, and then he comes back underneath in the loop. So this has turned into a track meet. One thing you don't want to do with the Seattle Seahawks is let some of these speedy young players loose coming after your quarterback, but that's exactly where Jim Harbaugh's squad is right now.
Or as Keith Jackson would say, pin your ears back, right?
There you go.
3rd and 23.
And for a field goal probably here.
Just get the snap away. And Kaepernick throwing that one to outside Tacoma. So it's 4th down.
Yeah, I think you've got to go for it here or try a monster field goal.
No, you're not going to try a monster field goal the way Akers is cooking, you wouldn't think. But
there he comes.
Yep. Red Bryant licking his chops again.
Well, and he's going to have a shot at this one. This one's liable to come out pretty low.
This will be a 54-yard attempt for a guy who started the season with a 63-yarder on opening day in Green Bay, but it's a completely different story of late. And Akers' kick is good. How about that is right? Who said they can't go for it? Who was that guy?
David Akers. Well, he's finishing the year the way he started the year. That 63-yarder, and I remember that was in Green Bay.
Right.
And it wasn't at the altitude. Usually when we see those long kicks, they're in Denver. But he showed once again he needed that kick too. It's been a rough year for David Akers.
Very. So in the rain, that's a beauty. Akers makes his 26th field goal of the season. The guy set the NFL record last year for most in a year. 31 seconds remaining in the half. Again, the Seahawks will get the ball to start the second half. And there were the numbers each with 8 completions, but 8 out of 9 as opposed to 8 out of 19.
Yeah, and maybe the number that's not showing up there is Frank Gore right now, 5 rushes for 10 yards. It's one thing playing quarterback when you have your running game going, and another when it's going the way it has this first half. But that kick, now makes it sort of a 3-score game. And one thing we learned last week,
didn't we?
Yeah, the NFL, it ain't over till it's over.
We told you don't touch that dial, and you didn't. Did a great rating last week. Don't go anywhere. We implore you. From the goal line, Washington to the 20-yard line. 26 seconds left in the half. That Niner defense, second in the league in yardage allowed, first in points. Last 4 quarters, though, and a lot of that had to do last week with Tom Brady just lighting it up for New England. But a completely different story for a defense that had been the hallmark. Vic Fangio has done a great job over the past couple of years with that Niner defense.
Well, remember this too, though. Justin Smith not in there for the second half against the Patriots, not in there for the first half here, and he has been unsung hero on that defense. Doesn't get a lot of credit, but he is a guy that sets a lot of things up.
Michelle getting the word from Harbaugh. She'll report on that in the second half. Hawks trying to make it 6 of their last 7. We come to the half with the score Seattle 28 and San Francisco 6. Al Michaels with Chris Collinsworth and Michelle Tafoya. Sunday Night Football wrapping up week 16 of the NFL schedule in a steady rain with the temperature now in the low 40s. The Seahawks up by 22, and they'll get the ball with the kick by Akers going through the end zone to the 20-yard line. They'll go, and they'll start right there. But first we go to Michelle.
Well, Jim Harbaugh just told me at halftime that they have multiple problems, and his second half adjustments will include simplifying the offense with fewer shifts and motions and getting in and out of the huddle quicker. As for Pete Carroll, he said, in spite of a 22-point lead, he said, I know the scoreboard looks good, but we haven't really done anything good yet. We have to settle in, get our running game going, we can play a lot better than we have.
Well, that's a scary thought. Thank you, Michelle. Outscoring the opponents in the last 10 quarters, 2.5 games, 136 to 23. From the 20-yard line, they start here on the ground. They give it to Lynch with a pair of touchdowns in the opening half. Francois makes the stop.
Big time play in the first half by Russell Okung, the outstanding left tackle of the Seahawks. He and Aldon Smith going at it, maybe a little grab of the jersey there, but watch him on this run play out in front, mauling Smith. And this is one I like. Watch the hands. In, out, knock his hands down. Outstanding. Stay on the pass protection. Give your young quarterback, Russell Wilson, a chance.
On 2nd and 7. And this is Lynch. He always loves to say he's playing in beast mode out to the 32-yard line, tackled by Smith. First down, Seahawks.
That one looked a little bit like the beginning of that earthquake run, didn't it? You know, kind of hopping around. And, you know, this guy, for as big and strong and physical as he is, just has really quick feet. And all of a sudden, you know, he goes around you, then he drops his shoulder, and you just get run over. So he is one of those guys just so hard to figure out exactly how you get a big shot at him.
The fullback Robinson took Willis completely out of the play. Play action. And the pass is incomplete. Good coverage that time. Intended for Sidney Rice. Covered by Goldson. 2nd down and 10.
So you don't have to watch the 49ers long to really appreciate these two safeties. Deshaun Goldson there, Dante Whitner. Big hitters. They even impress the likes of Navarro Bowman, we were talking about. I mean, they basically can be interchangeable with linebackers, and so much man coverage for the 49ers. It's often up to those two safeties to dislodge the ball like we saw earlier from Seattle.
Goldson, well known in these parts, played his college football at the University of Washington. Here's Lynch. And Brooks slows him up. Bowman finishes him off. Be a minimal gain, if any. 3rd down and 8 coming up.
Yeah, Navarro Bowman is one of those guys. Everybody knows about Patrick Willis, but over the past couple of years, Navarro Bowman has made a name for himself right here. A guy, watch how patient he is. He looks like he thought it was inside. He made sure they don't get the cutback. You never see these 49er linebackers overrun the play. They play it inside out, force you to bounce it, and then have the speed to go get you.
3rd down and 9. And Wilson is able to duck away.
There goes Fran.
Flying, yeah, right. Very Tarkenton-like. Steps away from a tackle. This is like McNabb in Dallas a few years ago. But no first down. He's tackled at the 39-yard line.
I mean, I've seen him go straight backwards and do it and scramble around. This time, they're bringing Aldon Smith off of this side. They've seen enough of Russell Okung over there. He's going to try him against Giacomini. And then, you know, poor Ahmad Brooks, he's going to try and catch him once and try and catch him again. You know, that's just like show business there. That's pretty fun.
Ran about 60 yards to get 6. This is the first punt of the night for Seattle. The kicker is Ryan, John Ryan, and Ted Ginn Jr. is back for the 49ers. And Ginn calling for the fair catch and makes it at the 20-yard line. 11:52 remaining in the 3rd with the Seahawks up by 22.
Remember, the Seahawks playing without 3 of their best corners in this game, and yet they have been fantastic so far, covering the receivers of the San Francisco 49ers. Jeremy Lane early on Randy Moss. Lane again, good solid coverage on the outside, not letting him get deep, and then Richard Sherman on the other side with the knockdown.
And now that defense facing the 49ers beginning this drive, their first of the second half from the 20-yard line. All kinds of time. And the pass is caught for a 14-yard gain by Randy Moss. forward progress up to the 34-yard line. First down.
Well, believe me, they still know what Randy Moss can do. I thought Moss had a great sequence in the game last week against New England. Caught a pass over the middle, took a double shot, high-low, and then came back and caught a deep ball for a touchdown. And they need him. Believe me, Earl Thomas knows all about it. He said, when I was a kid, you got a deep ball caught on you in a pickup game, you got mossed. Nobody wants to get mossed out here tonight.
From the 33. Kaepernick. And it is caught by Crabtree. Great grab. Crabtree getting position on Sherman that time, and the pass thrown right into his hands. Beautifully thrown.
Richard Sherman said, well done. Here you go, right out here. And watch the hand fighting going on. This is what drives Jim Harbaugh crazy about playing with Seattle. He said, that's a foul. That's supposed to be called a foul, but they do it so well, and they just kind of hack and claw at you. The officials may call it once, but they're not going to call it all night. Said, so we have to match how physically they play. And Sherman said, all right, give you credit.
It's the NBA. Come up with 4 backs. One of the backs is a lineman. That's Daniel Kilgore, 67, in the backfield as well. And the handoff is faked. And Kaepernick stepping up. And Kaepernick going deep into a lot of coverage, and the pass is incomplete. 3 Seahawks are back. Randy Moss in the back of the end zone. 2nd and 10.
Well, this time Kilgore is in there because remember when KJ Wright got him last time. So now they bring in the extra offensive lineman on the bootleg so he has time to step in here and make this throw. Little early contact, but no foul.
Jeremy Lane. 2nd and 10. Manningham juggles, and the ball comes loose for the second, but he winds up with it. Seahawks are saying the play should be alive. It should be their ball, and it is. And the 49ers are signaling to the bench because Manningham is down. That's the first thing they need to do. And Manningham, who's been bothered with a shoulder injury that's cost him the last 3 games, is now grasping his knee.
Yeah, this ball was thrown late, and Leroy Hill is going to come out and basically buckle his knees on the tail end of it, and just a natural reaction. Manningham knows he's hurt, and you just give up the ball. I mean, he's just in pain. We've seen that before, and that's a huge turnover. But that whole thing got started. Colin Kaepernick, I don't know if he bobbled the ball or couldn't get a grip on it, but was late getting that thing out there.
Already minus Vernon Davis, and now Manningham. Well, Manningham just now able to get up, and with assistance being taken off the field. So Vernon Davis out, and now Manningham, and here's the play again, which also results in a turnover.
Yeah, you could see though when Clemens was out there, they didn't cut him. Set up for a late throw, so really Manningham unable to get control of the ball and really never able to defend himself and just simply let it go. Of course, you talked about it earlier, what a huge play in the Super Bowl Mario Manningham had. Really turned around that final drive.
Chancellor winds up with a recovery, so Davis is out. Their great pass catching tight end. You've got Manningham now out, and A.J. Jenkins, the #1 draft choice, who was active last week, was inactive tonight. Did now the Crabtree and Randy Moss and Ted Ginn as their wideouts from the 32-yard line now. This drive begins with good protection, but the secondary does its work, and thus the pass is thrown away. It'll be 2nd down and 10 for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and there you see a poised young man. You know, Russell Wilson, here's a guy that played, you know, went to Major League Baseball camp. So he was in camp with guys twice his age, and you could see the poise there. It just wasn't there. You throw it away. He set a record in college, like 370 something balls, something like that, without an interception. And he's not going to get you beat as a young player, which is job one.
He's very confident and very self-assured. And 2nd and 10. Here's Lynch. Lynch to the 40-yard line. So Wilson gets the job at the beginning of the year. People around the country said, what? And the offense starts off very slowly in September. A little bit of improvement in October. A big improvement in November. December's off the charts.
Yeah, to give you some idea of how hot they've been lately, they moved from 27th in offense 3 weeks ago to 16th, and might take another jump here tonight.
Third and a deuce from the 40. And he dumps it off after faking it. Lynch almost lost the handle, but picks up the first down. One other thing with Russell Wilson, we should just talk about the involvement of what's happened here in Seattle. A couple of years ago, it was Matt Hasselbeck. It was his team for years, and then they let him go, and Tavares Jackson took over. They knew what they had in him. And then Seattle said, we had to improve that position. And that's when they went out and they got Matt Flynn. And Flynn, there he is, who had that gigantic day in the closer last year for Green Bay. He backed up Rodgers against Detroit, gets the big contract. And the next thing you know, Russell Wilson gets drafted in the 3rd round, and he's the guy. Simply won the job outright. And Wilson going deep, and it is incomplete. Coverage is good by Dante Whitner, intended for Doug Baldwin. 2nd and 10.
Well, now you see San Francisco having to start taking a few chances. So now you're going to get the up here, but they've got their safety, Dante Whitner, who's really not a pure cover kind of guy here. Good job by Whitner there that time, though, turning around and making the play. Wilson's going to take his shots. There's plenty of courage. Remember Pete Carroll telling us, you know, at the draft, we always ask guys, you know, have you ever had any conflict with coaches, anything? And most guys go, oh, no, never. He said, yeah, I've had plenty. He started telling some stories. Said that was the answer we wanted to hear.
2nd and 10. Under pressure, he's able to squirt away and slides to a stop just short of the first down. Well, there are offenses that come in and they change things and they don't last very long, but you begin to think, you watch a guy like this and even Kaepernick on his best days, that it's all evolving in the National Football League right now.
Watch Russell Wilson use this ball. He's already 3 yards down the field and he's going to fake like he throws it. Gets Rod Brooks to jump up in the air and goes right around him. There's no way he could have thrown it, but clever play.
3rd and 1 from the 41. Give it to the fullback, and that should be the forward progress, Michael Robinson, enough for the first down. And Chris, we're not saying that there's no room for a drop back quarterback. There always will be. But around the National Football League these days, as you look at Vinovich signaling a first down, you begin to wonder. It's a different type of thing now. You're looking for any kind of guy, especially a guy who could do something like this.
Well, there are only so many human beings on the planet like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and those guys. So if you don't have one, you have to start thinking about the Colin Kaepernicks and see if you can get this read option going, because what it does is it forces you into some man coverages and really simplifies the throws.
And now you got trick plays too, and you got Sidney Rice, and he's going to launch one, but it's almost intercepted by Carlos Rogers. So it looked good on paper. I'm sure it looked good in practice, but it didn't look very good in the game tonight. 2nd down.
Yeah, one of the problems when you hand the ball to a wideout and you tell him he's allowed to throw it, he's going to throw it no matter what. Trust me. I had an interception in the opening play against the Steelers one time on Monday night. I said, there's no way I'm not throwing this ball. Threw it into triple coverage, and I never got the chance again.
So what was your passer rating that night?
It was below 0. Sam White will never forgive me.
2nd and 10 from the 40. And Lynch takes the handoff for a short gain. To the 38.
We were talking about these quarterbacks that can run. I don't want to say a running quarterback. You know, Tim Tebow was sort of brought it about a little bit and all that. But these guys are sort of top-end throwers. I mean, they really are. They're quarterbacks, and they're going to learn the position. They're going to learn more about what they can do playing the defense. Here you go. You get a little bit of a feel now for Russell Wilson and what his throwing motion looks like. Fairly compact, maybe a little loop down at the bottom, but he's not changing that throwing motion. It's working just fine right now.
Every time I show that, I want to eat a popsicle. 3rd and 8. And Wilson throws, and that's caught for a first down by Jermaine Kearse, a rookie who played his college ball right here at the University of Washington. Gain of 17.
Russell Wilson just said, loop this, Collinsworth. There we go. This is from the far hash, the deep out. This is always the test. Sees the corner blitz coming right at him and zings it in there. There you see some of the accuracy that impressed Pete Carroll so much. And he knows he hit the jackpot with that.
First down at the 21-yard line, and the 49ers are trying to get a timeout, and they do get one. 5:50 left in the third. The Seahawks up 28-6. Well, their Seahawks lead 28-6, and after a San Fran timeout, first down at the 21-yard line. With Wilson throwing and bobbled and incomplete. Intended for Curse, covered by Terrell Brown. It'll be second down and 10.
Yep, just some one-on-one down the field. Curse working against Brown and really had a shot at this one, just unable to pull it down. I think he was almost thinking about his feet before he remembered to catch the football. You could see him adjusting his feet when it coming down. It was interesting, though, talking to Pete Carroll about Russell Wilson and some of those read option stuff. You know, Russell Wilson didn't do that in college, and neither did Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator. But he said, we need to try some of this, and it really has made a difference for this team.
Play action bootleg to the right, and the pass is caught and then hit hard by Whitner is Zach Miller. Short gain.
Well, here's some of the read option stuff we've been talking about tonight. Wilson's going to spy up Ahmad Brooks there. He sees him hang, and he's going to wait. Now watch him. He's going to look right at Brooks. His eyes go right there. Don't even look for the handoff. The back's job is to get there. He sees him frozen, hand the thing off. I tell you, Marshawn Lynch's numbers have gone way up since Russell Wilson started running that option, and every week you're seeing a little bit more out of it.
3rd and 6. The Niner defense so stellar, can't get off the field tonight on 3rd down. Seattle's converted 7 of 8. Trying to keep that string going here, and they do. Robert Turbin, the rookie, makes the catch, tackled by Willis, and that's going to set up a 1st and goal. So they keep converting on 3rd down. They're chewing up a lot of the clock. This drive is 5.5 minutes long already. An 11-yard gain here.
Anytime you play the 49ers, you know their linebackers are playing a lot of coverage. Here comes the pick inside on Patrick Willis. You don't hit him, you just make him bounce over the top, which is all you need to get the ball to Turbin for the 1st down.
13th play of this drive, which began at the Seattle 32-yard line. Lynch. It's taken back by Bowman just after crossing the 5-yard line. 2nd down and goal, and we'll tick under 4 minutes to go in the 3rd.
Well, here's where you're young quarterback. You hope you just keep yourself calm down here. You know, field goals are good stuff at this point in the ball game too, but we also know just how competitive Russell Wilson is. The thing that's worked so far tonight is getting him out on the edge and forcing some late adjustments from the 49ers in the secondary. They haven't been able to stop him.
2nd down and goal. Boot again to the right. And nobody home. So it'll be 3rd down and goal from the 4.
Get the feeling that Ahmad Brooks has seen just about enough of Russell Wilson. He's chasing him around, give him a little shove at the end of that play. It's frustrating. You know, you get some good pass rush situations. There he is right over here. And he's going to come up. He's got him once again in his sights. Fades away and just gives him a little one of those.
3rd and goal, 15th play of the drive. 3 receivers set to the right. And a fade is thrown and is caught for a touchdown by Doug Baldwin. Carlos Rogers there, and Baldwin able to get both feet in for the touchdown.
Right here to the corner, and Carlos Rogers, one of their better cover guys. Watch the job getting his feet down here. That's fantastic. And I tell you, this Russell Wilson, he's something else now, Al. You know, I don't know that anybody maybe before this game took him all that seriously for Rookie of the Year, but what else does he have to do? That was a perfectly thrown ball in the back of the end zone, only gave his guy an opportunity to make the play, and I tell you, he is making a big impression on me.
The only thing else he has to do is move to a major media center. It's a shame, but sometimes you get lost in the Pacific Northwest. 35-6 Seattle. You and I know that guys can get lost in the Pacific Northwest. I say that because there are a lot of people in the Eastern media, of course, who think that Seattle is like Bulgaria.
Not you.
Not me, baby.
You cheer for him.
We love it here. Trust me, we do. 3 yards in, this is LaMichael James. Out to the 30-yard line with 3:15 to play. In the third, 35-6, the red-hot Seahawks. 35-6, Seattle on top. 49ers from the 30-yard line. And Kaepernick will throw, and that is caught, and it is taken in by Garrett Selleck, the younger brother of Philadelphia's Brent Selleck, and he takes the ball to the 35-yard line for a gain of 34 yards.
Just up the field, and poor Cam Chancellor, who got flagged on the last one, came across in position to give another big hit. Kind of lowered his shoulder and forgot to wrap up or do anything else. You just wonder psychologically what those flags do to the guys defensively.
From the 35. Ooh, and almost picked off, intended for more. And then Moss is able to wind up with it. So Randy Moss with a reception off the deflection by the rookie Jeremy Lane.
Well, you know, the 49ers just finally catch a break here. Jeremy Lane right off his hands. And Randy just does the old falling tree routine there.
Second and 4 from the 29. Kaepernick. And it's caught by Selleck again. He'll take it to the 23. And we'll go to Michelle.
Well, Mario Manningham now has been ruled out with a knee injury. We saw him clutching that left knee earlier in their last drive. He left the field grimacing in pain, and he is out. Add that to Vernon Davis being out with a concussion, and that's not good news for the 49ers.
Well, what a night it's been for them, Michelle. Coming off that big win, and then you come in here with a chance to clinch the division, with a chance to probably wind up as the number 2 seed because they have Arizona next week, and now everything is changing. Kaepernick on first down, and that's behind the intended receiver Crabtree. So of course the difference between being 2 and 3 in the seeding is if you're number 2, you're off for a week and you get a home game for sure. If you're not in the first 2, you have to play a wild card game at home, and that's the what's looking them in the face right now. Green Bay is exultant at the moment because you've got the playoff picture right there, but Green Bay with a San Francisco loss tonight would be number 2, and they would wind up with a bye, and they could cinch that by beating Minnesota next week.
And how big was that win over the Patriots last week? Or else we'd be talking about the division champs.
Meanwhile, here's Gore inside the 10 and gets wrestled down at the 5-yard line by Earl Thomas. First down and goal for San Francisco.
Well, it's interesting. This was the play that beat the Seattle Seahawks the last time they met. About 3 of these big runs by Gore. Here you go with their best puller, Alex Boone, coming around the outside. Just a little power action. And that was the play the Seahawks couldn't stop. They've done a great job on it tonight, though.
First and goal from the 5. Under a minute to play in the quarter. Kaepernick throwing too high. Intended for Selleck, who has to see a lot of playing time in the absence of Vernon Davis. Delaney Walker, the other tight end. Second down and goal. So not a very happy 49th birthday to this point for Harbaugh.
Yeah, but you really hit on it. Losing Vernon Davis is more than just losing a player, because they love running those 3 tight end packages so much. A lot of power football, and he's sort of the lead blocker on a lot of those plays. Moss one-on-one on the outside if they want him.
Instead, they give it to James, and Michael James on a sweep to the left. And he'll get hog-tied at the 3-yard line. It stays in bounds. Clock keeps rolling. 3rd down and goal.
Jeremy Lane kind of escaping on the outside and making a play. I tell you, I think he is some story. I don't know where he was on the depth chart, but Brandon Browner, Marcus Trufant, Walter Thurman, I think we're all ahead of him. And yet in back-to-back weeks, first play of the game last week, he came out with a huge one, and tonight he's been just as good.
6th-round pick. They've drafted brilliantly. Seattle 35, San Francisco 6. Sunday Night Football back after these messages. Now 3rd down and goal from the 3-yard line. Kaepernick, chase, throws, picked off in the end zone. That's Richard Sherman. What a night for Sherman. The kid who played his college ball for Jim Harbaugh, killing the Niners tonight.
Remember this one earlier, Al? He dropped it earlier in the game. Same exact play. Again, Kaepernick rolling to his right, throwing back across the grain. I said he would learn from that one. He didn't. Give Chris Clemens a little credit for getting some pressure, but boy, how big is the hearing now concerning Richard Sherman and the performance-enhancing drugs? After the performance he's having here, it's entirely possible this may be his last game until potentially the Super Bowl.
Well, the Seahawks were sanguine about the appeals hearing, or at least what they know about it, over the weekend in St. Louis, actually Friday, but they'll come down with a decision one way or another in terms of the appeal sometime this week. Meanwhile, Seattle up 35-6 early in the 4th quarter, and they give the ball to Lynch, and he'll get tackled at the line of scrimmage. All right, so let's take a look at Week 17. All these games will be on Fox. We even play the music for them, including games that are very important. Green Bay at Minnesota, because Green Bay might have to win that game to cement the 2 seed. Arizona's at San Francisco. St. Louis comes in here, and you see the early games right there. Philly and the Giants, among other games.
Yeah, now assuming this score holds, San Francisco is going to have to win next week to win the division. As I was trying to say a little bit earlier, the Patriots win last week was huge. Otherwise, this game would have been for the division lead.
From the 21-yard line. And this is Lynch in what he calls his beast mode. And he's closing in on 100 yards tonight.
The beast mode registered on the Richter scale one time.
Now the AFC schedule, although those games on CBS next week, but the AFC picture is very clear right now, with the 6 spots all accounted for, and the Pittsburgh Steelers out of the playoffs.
All right. How about
Denver keep rolling?
How about Bruce Arians' year, though?
Yeah.
To get fired by Pittsburgh, go and take the 2-14 Colts into the playoffs, and watch the Steelers not make it without him. That's a pretty good year.
Might be sipping a little good Cabernet right about now.
I would think.
Knowing our man Bruce.
Because he did not want to go. He wanted to stay in Pittsburgh.
That's a 1st down right there for Lynch. So Jim Harbaugh coming off that big win last week and the ride home, and then coming up here. He and Pete Carroll have faced each other a lot of times through the years, both as head coaches in college, head coaches in the NFL, and going all the way back to when Pete was a defensive coordinator at Minnesota and Harbaugh was the quarterback at Chicago. It goes all the way back to the mid-'80s. Lynch to the 39. Stanford and USC had a great little rivalry going over that period of time when both were the head coaches of their respective schools. Wild games, and Harbaugh's Cardinal won 2 out of 3 from Pete's Trojans. But in the NFL, Harbaugh leading in the series 3-love, but not for long.
Yeah, we asked him about Pete Carroll last night, and what did he say? Nameless, faceless. That's it. You know, it doesn't make any difference to me. Nameless, faceless.
From the 39-yard line, 2nd down and 1. And off to the races goes Turbin. And the rookie takes it to the 37-yard line of San Francisco. 24 yards.
Where they scored the touchdown right off the bat. Going to come down here and then get up to the 2nd level, pick off the linebacker, nobody left. And Aldon Smith unable to get off his block to get in on the play. They have looked a little bit like the San Francisco 49ers here tonight. They are taking it at Aldon Smith, and the best way we all know to slow down a pass rusher is to run right at him.
So Smith again chasing Michael Strahan. He needed 3 with 3 to go to tie, but none last week and none tonight, and Justin Smith out. They'll really need him to come back and come back in a hurry, as there he is, the Cowboy, missing his first game in forever.
Yeah, and one of the hardships of that for Aldon Smith is you talk to opposing coaches and they say that Justin Smith sets up a lot of sacks for Aldon Smith, and we saw it some last week. He'll come out, pick off the tackles, allow him to loop inside. A very physical presence that often demands double teams inside does Justin Smith, which creates one-on-one opportunities for Aldon Smith.
2nd and 6 now from the 33. Straight ahead. Navarro Bowman makes the tackle. Lynch tonight has carried the ball a total of 22 times for 108 yards.
And I can't help but think a little bit of what Jim Harbaugh was talking about last night after the Patriots win. Of course, locker room, everybody's very excited. But he said not only on the plane ride home when everybody was asleep, he said on the bus ride to the airport, which is usually raucous, it was quiet. It was very unusual. They were so exhausted after playing so many plays, and maybe it's had an impact. I don't want to take anything away from Seattle, but who knows?
3rd and 5. Little floater, and that's caught. It's Tate, and Tate will take the ball with a flag thrown. For the moment, he's down to about the 12-yard line. Got Brooks offside, 21-yard gain.
Defense number 55. Penalties decline. Result of the play. 1st down.
Well, Ahmad Brooks has been close all night. We've heard the crowd clamoring for it. And they finally get one called here. Leaves just before the snap count. Give Giacomini some credit. He has been getting quick jumps off the ball, but for the most part, Giacomini's been getting the job done on him.
So 9.5 remaining. It'll be 1st down and 10 at the 11-yard line. Tonight on the ground, the Seahawks with 177 yards. And to the 8-yard line goes Lynch. Now, what do we got here? Okun winds up on the ground. Draws the flag. And somebody I think is going to get thrown out of the game here too. Yep. Bill Vinovich, the referee, before he makes the call. It's good to see Bill back. He was a ref through 2006, then had major surgery, an aortic aneurysm, had to have removed, went to the league office, and finally gets cleared again.
On the play. Both players were in activity. 2nd down.
All right, no foul and nobody gets thrown out.
I like that. They were in activity. I've never heard that said before. Okun, there was a little activity. A little activity back. No foul. Hey, these are rivals. You know, Al, you hit on it. Sometimes when you're on the West Coast, you don't get the attention.
Hello.
These are the #1 and #2 scoring defenses in the NFL. These are physical, tough football teams. And I think especially in Seattle's case, people have missed that point a little bit.
2nd and 7 from the 8. And Lynch down to the 6-yard line. Well, the NFC West, which a lot of people would refer to for years as the NFC worst, all of a sudden is going to wind up sending 2 teams to the playoffs. Of course, the division champion always goes, but one of these teams is going to wind up as the wild card.
Yeah, and the numbers bear out what you said. For about the last 10 years, the West outside their division was the weakest. Now you look at the numbers they put up. Now they're the strongest outside the division.
3rd down and 5. Wilson rolling, buys time, throwing, and Tate gets hit with a flag in the end zone, as you can see, and can't hold on.
Holding. Defense number 25. After this, it's the ball. Automatic. First down.
And that's on Brown. 1st and goal.
Working against Golden Tate. Right up in here. And Golden Tate was kind of using the leverage as much as Terrell Brown was, but in that kind of night. But I tell you, Golden Tate has really stepped up for these Seattle Seahawks, and I'm not buying it on the other side, but that ability to find several targets now. We saw Baldwin tonight, Golden Tate, Sidney Rice has had a nice night, Anthony McCoy, Zach Miller, spreading it out now for Seattle.
1st and goal, and to the outside, not able to turn the corner because Baldwin is right there. You look at Golden Tate, he'll go down in history as the guy who made the catch in that Green Bay game that led to the end of the replacement officials, what's known as the Fail Mary game. Yeah. So they're the Rookie of the Year candidates right there, the 3 quarterbacks. Take your pick, man.
Yeah, the one interesting number here, just 5 interceptions on this side. Quarterback rating a little bit better, but boy, you have to say these 3 have been about as good as there's been. There's never been 3 rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs in the same year. May well happen. Looks like Russell Wilson's about to be number 2.
Right, now it's all up to Griffin next week, and the pass is caught by Doug Baldwin for the touchdown. Boy, Pete Carroll had Baldwin and Sherman in college, and he says, how can you turn on me like this?
Doug Baldwin right here. Watch him set him up, a little outside move, jump back inside, and that's a perfect throw. It was so far out in front. We see corners all the time undercut and knock these balls down, but Wilson led Baldwin so far in front that Culliver just couldn't get there. Nice catch.
I think I said Harbaugh, or I said Carroll. I meant Harbaugh, obviously, coaching at Stanford. Sherman and Baldwin having big nights tonight. Hauschka for the point after. And the Seahawks in the last 3 weeks, 58, 50, and 42 with 7 minutes to go. 42-6. So in the history of the NFL, most points over 3 games in one season. The Rams back in 50. And now the Seahawks move into a 2nd place tie in that category with 150 points and 7 minutes to play. So who knows?
How about Russell Wilson? First 4 touchdown game tonight, and he keeps getting better. I mean, that's the thing. You think, okay, can't get any better than what he did last week, the 3 touchdowns running and 1 passing, and tonight he's been better.
And out of the end zone, Walker comes up with it after James couldn't handle it, and he's tackled at the 10-yard line with 6:57 to play. 42-6 Seahawks. A steady rain in Seattle. No spirits dampened in this ballpark tonight. From the 10. Give it to James. 3-yard gain, and then banged down by Bobby Wagner. Another story in and of itself. Rookie out of Utah State penalty flag on the play. Second round draft choice. Faced Kaepernick twice in college. Utah State against Nevada.
After the play was over, personal foul. Defense number 51. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
It's Bruce Irvin there. Number 1 draft choice. So Irvin 1 and Wagner was 2.
Yeah, Irvin's had a good year. 8 sacks on the year. 6 of them in this stadium. Crowd noise definitely helps him. Just finished it off a little bit at the end. They always get the last guy, don't they?
Yes, they do.
There we go. That's the one.
From the 29, first down. And Kaepernick. And he hits Walker, and Delaney Walker will get taken down in Seattle territory by Jeremy Lane. Gain of 23 yards.
You know, the other part about this thing for Seattle is because they've been blowing people out here lately, we're at the end of the season, guys are tired, you're beat up, you want to rest your body a little bit. Well, the Seahawks have had that opportunity the last 3 weeks. They're going to be fresher than most teams going into the playoffs.
Kaepernick, and that one's through the hands of Randy Moss and incomplete. Second and 10. So the Niners not only going down to defeat here and losing that number 2 seed for the moment, but Vernon Davis with a concussion, Manningham with a knee injury, both obviously not returning tonight. The question is, next week they come back, they face Arizona. That's the good news for them, and they can still win the division, but they're looking at hosting a wild card game now.
Yeah, and now they've got the issue, instead of being able to rest for that extra week, they may have to go to back-to-back weeks because of what's happened out here tonight.
Right, play that extra game and not have that week off. Second down and 10. Walker to the 40. So one of the big beneficiaries tonight, as we mentioned a couple of times, the Green Bay Packers, who, remember, they were the victims on the night of the Fail Mary play, losing that game, flying back home. Aaron Rodgers got sacked 8 times in the first half, 4 by Clemens. But Green Bay able to recover. They're on a roll, and right now they're sitting in that 2 spot behind Atlanta.
Well, maybe a little justice for the Packers, what Seattle's doing to San Francisco tonight.
And this is Kaepernick, who's going to try to push his way to a first down. And there's a possibility, too, with Seattle meeting Green Bay at some point in the playoffs, but that game would be in Green Bay. And speaking of that play, the play that brought the regular officials back to work. Here it was, end of the game on a Monday night here, early in the season. MD Jennings looking like he had the interception, and at the end of the day, after reviews and all kinds of controversy and craziness, there's a touchdown that gave Seattle the win. And Kaepernick gets chased down, and Wagner falls on him at the 30-yard line.
And Golden Tate with one of the great push-offs of all time. That play just gave the heave-ho, and sort of came out later. Some of those officials were told on those Hail Mary plays, the replacement officials, listen, we don't want to call a lot of interference, a lot of offense. So Golden Tate took full advantage of that one.
Yeah, that was the night after we had the Sunday nighter in Baltimore, with a lot of wackiness in terms of the officiating. New England against Baltimore, the game that ended with a field goal over the top of the upright on John Harbaugh's 50th birthday. So not an omen for Jim's 49th tonight. This is James taking it to the 24-yard line.
You know, one thing you know about these 49ers is this isn't really their style of game. Yes, they exploded on the Patriots last week and all that, but this is a team that wants to establish a run, and the Seahawks tonight came out and jumped on them so quickly, and the play of the game really was Red Bryant's blocked field goal, where it looked like it was going to be 14-3 at that point. Close game, stay with your style, and that just changed everything.
From the 24. And Kaepernick sliding away. And again, Wagner will shove him
out of bounds. You know, we talked about the rookie Wagner and Kaepernick, who's in his second year. Kaepernick had one scholarship offer, one out of high school. He was a great baseball player, drafted by the Cubs, and only Nevada offered him a scholarship offer. And you look at Wagner, who was a pretty good player in Southern California and Ontario, and he had only one offer, and that was from Utah State.
And Russell Wilson had a lot of offers. He got drafted by 3 different people.
2nd and 4 from the 19. And Kaepernick hit as he throws, and that is caught by James. That'll be a first down. He had Johnson that time on the safety blitz, forcing the issue in the backfield.
Of course, we all remember now he's coming out of here, but oops, sorry about that. Got LaMichael James, a guy we all remember him out of Oregon, all the different things that he was able to do there, and yet with Jim Harbaugh in this offense, really not much of a role, not any role until just a few weeks ago. They just don't play rookies. They start the fewest rookies of any team in the NFL this year. You got to work your way into this lineup.
And a timeout is taken by San Francisco. 42-6. .223 remaining, and Seattle on its way to a 6th win in its last 7 games. They will clinch a playoff spot. There's only one spot open in terms of a wild card. And of course, you've got the NFC East to be determined next week on Sunday night. Dallas at Washington. 1st and 10 from the 11. Anthony Dixon is in the backfield. They hand the ball off to him. To the 5-yard line, he goes for a gain of 6. And that should take us, unless they want to hurry this up. And for the moment, they look like they do. 2nd down and 4. And Kaepernick will throw, and that'll be dropped by Walker, and that will take us to the 2-minute warning with a $1:55 remaining here in Seattle. The crowd has roared from start to finish, and why not? The Hawks are up 42-6 on Sunday Night Football. $1:55 remaining. 3rd down and 4 now for San Francisco. Held out of the end zone all night by the Seattle defense. Can they get in here? 3rd and 4. Anthony Dixon is the running back. And he'll take the ball inside the 5, but that is all. Stopped by Bobby Wagner, and it will be 4th down and 2. And there's a marker, a.k.a. a flag.
I'll tell you, Bobby Wagner, though, has stepped up, hasn't he, Al? Talking about Earl Thomas saying he should be the defensive MVP, and I think these officials are just hoping to get this game over with.
Yeah.
Not some kind of fight breaking out. But Bobby Wagner has really shown me something. Here we go, into the play.
After the play was over, personal foul. Offense number 76. 15-yard penalty. Down counts. 4th down.
Yeah, that's Anthony Davis. So in garbage time, it does have a tendency from time to time to get out of hand.
Yeah, and you know, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, it's when you start turning around and pointing at the scoreboard and going, yeah, where was all that tough guy when the game was on the line? But for San Francisco now, after jumping out to that 31-3 lead a week ago, they've been outscored now 73-16. Now this was a team that just 6-7 days ago everybody voted the best team in football.
Right. And at halftime last week in Foxborough, they would have led every power poll. Fourth down, and Kaepernick will throw, and Walker juggles, and touchdown. He's able to get control of it despite the protest from Seattle. hauling it in, and they finally get into the end zone.
Yeah, and here is what Colin Kaepernick can do. He starts to scramble up. The defense freezes a little bit. Safety gets flipped around, and Delaney Walker scores. So it's not much, but the good news is he hold on to it all the way. Yes.
Agreed. Juggle. I think he had control all the way in. To make it 42-12 going on 13. And Akers' kick is good. 1:40 to go. 42-13 Seattle. Seahawks expecting an onside kick. Leon Washington downs it in the end zone.
There's no penalty on the play. First down.
Thank God.
And all that he's done. But Washington, Alfred Morris, one of the top running teams in the NFL behind him. Jim Haslett, after losing so many star defensive players early in the year, seemed to piece it all back together, and it'll change for the Seahawks now.
Well, Wilson's done for the night, and Matt Flynn will finish it up here and take us to the finish line. So Flynn, who was signed to that big contract and will look for all the world as if he would be the man. And then Russell Wilson just simply flat out won the job and has been the starter since the opener.
Yeah, and he won it because of game-altering plays, his gap plays, as Russell Wilson likes to call these things, and he has been sensational with them tonight. Yeah, he had one turnover on a big play, but third down conversions 11 of 12. Red zone 4 for 4, and that's a rookie.
And the turnover on a tipped pass. So in 7 games in this stadium this season, he's thrown 2 interceptions.
He's something now.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny talking to Pete about him. He goes, people warned me when I met him at the Senior Bowl. He goes, now, be careful, because you're going to think he's one of those artists, that can kind of trick you and fool you. But he has lived up to it on an everyday basis. Nobody works harder in the building. And Pete Carroll is his biggest fan, without question.
And John Schneider's come in as the general manager here. This team has drafted extremely well. They've made a lot of great choices. They're on a major big-time roll right now. And everything is lining up perfectly for the Seattle Seahawks. And as we said at the very beginning, you might hear a lot from either of these teams, despite what happened to San Francisco tonight, over the next few weeks. Seahawks win it by a score of 42-13, and Seattle is in the playoffs.